Okay, so the video I'm making is about giving players their roses. Let me expand upon that. At first, I ran into this. That you may have heard the saying of like, give them their flowers, give people their flowers. Yeah, as an appreciation kind of token. I first ran into it, or rather, it first hit home with me. Really, I was listening to a song by Joyner Lucas called "Will." He made this song about his hero, Will Smith, about what his story was and how it impacted him. And there's this line, or a couple of lines, that says, "Ain't nothing worse than losing your hero and couldn't say bye. And we never know just when it's our time. The legends are gone and we don't know why. So before they go, look here, give a toast. So give them a rose while they're still alive." And this impacted with me a little bit because this whole song is like a love piece basically to Will Smith about how much he's impacted Joyner Lucas's life. And often when we talk about giving them their flowers, maybe think about Remembrance Day. We put up wreaths of poppies to appreciate those who've given our life in, especially for like the world wars. But also when a warrior gives away their life standing for the honor of a country they represent. But I think not only is it used more classically in here, we can apply it more to memorable people within fields of excellence. And I consider it on a smaller level, but our esports players and people within our industry as well, to be doing something to a point of excellence. So, what do I mean by this? Think about the best players in the esports that you like. And this is why I'm making this video, because I hope that by thinking about this kind of idea of giving players their roses, we'll stop and think about the players that we have that are making impact in our game, and specifically Counter-Strike, and making sure they get the recognition for what they're doing. And the thing that spurred me on to think about this is, well, of course, the conflict between Russia and Ukraine has split the scene in half over in the CIS region, so there's going to be many players not going to be running into. Now we've seen kind of where the aftermath of where we're going to be heading, and Navi, there was worrying times and worrying signs that we might not see Electronic anymore. We reckon he's probably going to stay around now. There was signs that maybe the Gambit roster may have to split up. That was a worrying time. Yeah, there was questions around Hobbit after he had that news come out about how he was doing match fixing right at the early stages of his career. That impacted with the fact that there's this massive global catastrophe going on, basically isolated in Eastern Europe. There was a lot of questions about players we may never see again, and so I'm going to celebrate some of the people within the industry, players and otherwise, who have made a huge impact on not only the career of not the career rather, on the industry itself, but also myself as a spectator and I guess a pundit, but we'll see. And so I also want to talk about some of the ways that perhaps we can recognize these people more than just tweets from people who they used to employ them. So most recently, we've heard about Richard Lewis is making a slow exit from the scene. It's obviously not happening straight away, but it is going to be happening. He's talked about it for years. He's someone who has impacted myself massively in terms of how I conduct myself, how I think about integrity, and how that interacts with morality. I think it's a massive, massive impact on my personal life, and I imagine many other people's too. Our industry and our esports wouldn't be the same without him, and unfortunately this man is moving on. What I will say is this man's career is almost impossible to sum up in a small amount of words, and so I shan't even attempt to, but it will link in with what I was talking about later on in this video about needing perhaps a more long form and solid area where we can commemorate individuals. Onto that, this man spent a lot of time working with an individual called Thier. When I was talking about how Richard impacted me with both integrity and immorality and the way I think about these, I'll borrow the phrase from Richard Dawkins about consciousness raising, which he uses to describe how he talks about his atheistic beliefs. I believe these two individuals, and Thorin especially, helped myself individually and many others within our scene by consciousness raising ourselves up to a level where we can think more in broad stroke terms, not just on these isolated small islands, which often people get lost in the minutiae of these silly talking points which negate any progression as for our scene. What do I mean by that? Without these two individuals basically speaking from their heart and allowing us access to their mind basically to talk about hard topics such as who we should allow to invest within our scene, who are bad faith actors who are actively trying to work for their own favour, not in the favour of the entirety of the industry. All of their coverage over ESL, Blast, the Astralis stuff, all these stories about Hitcham Shaheen and all these horrible actors within organisations who are trying to actively fuck over legends, which is what this whole video is about, without them being able to put it towards us for us to digest within our own mind, we would never be able to grow as far as we have as a scene. And I think these two individuals specifically have had so much impact and have offered so much to us without without anything paid back to them. And I think that's wrong. And I think we should be celebrating these individuals, as I'm saying. Another person we should look at is some of our greatest players. We should be looking at the Simples and Nikos. Whether or not they're complex characters or not, they are achieving excellence within our games. There should be more than just 2-minute clips about their legacy in between tournaments, which are normally, how many times do you watch a game and then sit there actually and watch all the adverts? Unless you're in the stadiums, yeah, you're not watching this. You're getting up, you're grabbing a drink, yeah. Normally ads come over there because you're not subscribing to the ESL CSGO fucking Twitch channel. Who does that? So these 2-minute clips in between are good enough at celebrating these people. We can and we should do more. We should be influencing the influencers within our scenes to celebrate those people who are worth celebrating. Our casters, everyone else, all of our former professional players that have moved on. We should make a concerted effort together. Perhaps a Hall of Fame of some sort that's well regulated, not necessarily like the esports awards, which if you check out Thorin's videos, you can see some of the issues that he ran into while he was part of the esports awards ceremony or whatever that fucking thing was. I stopped paying attention to it because just as he had from the within, I could see from the outside, yeah, I mean, some of these decisions are just stupid. A Hall of Fame created by our most important people in the scene. Unfortunately, that would have been someone like Richard Lewis, but he's going to be removing himself, which is a shame. But Thorin and Monty are having their own, Monte Cristo that is, are building their own business. I hope this incorporates something like that. It's something I've heard Thorin speak about in the past. I know people aren't a big fan of these two individuals because they are kind of iconoclastic people. I've never fucking understood that. At the end of the day, you take it on what they say and the merit of what they're saying, where they come from, their experience, not necessarily how they say it. If you're getting butthurt over fucking words, I mean, I don't understand. And that's another video. Other people we should be looking at are some of the past names, perhaps, who haven't got their shine. Carrigan's finally getting some recognition for the hard work and the time he's put into this business, into this industry. The 32-year-old IGL probably gonna win the tournament he's currently playing in, I imagine, versus Navi, IEM Cologne. But some of the past names, someone like Pasha, for instance, on the way out, he was someone who was celebrated, but it's not someone I think a lot of people will actually think about and remember. You see him as like a Twitch streamer doing MMA fighter and stuff, being an MMA fighter, these kind of things. But this man was a fucking monster. He was an absolute monster, and he was around for years within our scene. And it's almost like some of these names have been forgotten. Sure, you have to make space for the new names to come through, but there's no like dedicated area necessarily where we can go and celebrate and understand the people who helped build the building blocks for these new names who are coming through. The Spinks, the Zywus, these type of players who are on the up and up and hopefully are going to be making their own legacy scenes. Another player, someone like Crims, who has been walling away in that Fnatic squad for many years. The statistics, if you go look at it, don't look amazing, but that man is an impactful individual. He's got so many years of experience. He's been a part of all the great Fnatic lineups. A real Swedish icon within that scene. Mr. Consistent, basically. But again, this is the kind of guy that isn't getting the shine I think that his career deserves. I'm not sure how much fanfare that man's going to get when it comes to the end of his days, when he makes his turn into whatever he does next. I hope he gets the big fanfare, but I also want somewhere where we can actually lay down in stone what this man's legacy has meant for us as an esports community, as a Counter-Strike community. The theme, as I started off with Joey Lucas's song Will, was about giving their roses before they get to the end of their days. Because, as I was saying, often this is done as a toast of appreciation after the service. We should do more to celebrate those while their service is being impactful. As I'm saying, I don't think we should wait for Crims to arbitrarily say his career is over, nor should we draw the line and say your career is over either. We should celebrate that person and that individual for the person within our industry and within our esports team as it's going along, and help understand that when these people who are as impactful as the names that I've mentioned so far have a value to us, because without them, we wouldn't be where we are. So until something like a Hall of Fame exists, hopefully, just as Richard Dawkins put a lot of his life work to consciousness raising, and how I've said that both Richard and Thorin have helped me do the same, I want you to stop and think towards the end of this video about people who have been impactful to you within our esports scene. Have a good think. Who are the players that have inspired you to hop on and grind some deathmatch and play some matchmaking, play some Face It? Who are the people who, while on their screens, have asked the tough questions and made us challenge the narratives that exist, that are being put forth by predominantly the fans? Stop and think about these people who have had an impact on you, and go give them a thanks. Yeah? Go and make sure that they understand that the value that they have put into our scene has made an impact. And it's not just empty calories, it's not just empty words. Otherwise, we won't have impactful people within our scene anymore. They'll all go somewhere else, where their time, their talent is appreciated, and where they feel their impact is most impactful.